Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com, on Roku, Dwyer Boxing and Sports News. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, I just saw the Marco Huck Krzystof Glowacki fight, right? Huck loses his title. He loses a chance to break Johnny Nelson's record for consecutive defenses as Cruiserweight champion. And just wanted to throw down a few thoughts here. You know, fight styles have expiration dates. There's certain things that young men can do that give them an advantage that old men can't do. Right? And if you're a young guy using a young style, you have to evolve so that when you're an older guy, you have a style that fits your age. Right? Now, let me say this. If you look at films of young Muhammad Ali, possibly the best heavyweight in history, right, you're going to notice that as bullets are coming back at him, he was so confident in his reflexes and his ability to move his upper body that Ali frequently, with Sonny Liston or whoever throwing big punches, Ali would just move back, right? He'd just lean back. This is something Vladimir Klitschko in a later generation would do. A lot of leaning. Wouldn't raise his hands, right? Because his reflexes were that good. They were that fresh. They were that young. Now, it might shock some young people, but as you get older, those reflexes aren't the same, right? You can't be living off pull counters, right? Where the other guy throws a punch, and as he's throwing the punch, you're reaching back, you're leaning back, so the punch ends here, and then you come back with your punch. Marco Huck is a master at that. He's made a career of it. He fights high, right? He's a bit high. His punches are predominantly headshots, to the point where when he fought Alexander Povetkin, a heavyweight, Povetkin was just able to duck under them, right? You're going to notice that Marco Huck, in a fight he's winning against Glowacki, right? You're going to notice that as Glowacki's throwing punches, Marco Huck is just leaning back, right? He gets sloppy with it because the problem is, as you age, the risk involved in not lifting a hand, in going straight back with your lean, right, of leaning and then not having a way to just roll out of the lean, right, becomes apparent. What Marco Huck's been doing has always been high risk. It's always been too reliant on his reflexes, just like young Mike Tyson was too reliant on his reflexes. And just like young Mike Tyson started getting hit with punches, Ali goes from no defense to a rope-a-dope as he gets older. Marco Huck is going to have to adjust. Folks, when he gets stopped, he's naked. Not just for the first left hand that hits him, but understand, Huck's leaning back. His hands are nowhere to be found. Krzystof, who's a southpaw, then comes in with a right hand. Huck is so defenseless that the punch hits him right here on the forehead. Fight's effectively over after that because Huck falls hard, right? He's badly hurt. This is a place he's not accustomed to being. When he gets up, he doesn't have the chessboard skills to deal with Glowacki while he's badly hurt. Notice when he gets off the canvas, he doesn't take a step forward and tie up Glowacki, right? He's too unbalanced to move off the ropes. He doesn't have the up-close skills, we'll call them chessboard skills, to hide his head, put his hands up like this, right? Lean off at the side. Make sure he's out of the way. It's like lean and turn. He doesn't have that. That's not part of his game. What's second nature for, let's say, a guy like Mayweather, who now can go up to the ropes and cover up. What's second nature for Ali in the 70s, after he loses his legs and loses his young man reflexes, right, to cover up on the ropes. What you see Roy Jones doing right now, keep in mind, young Roy is all reflexes, right? Old Roy, when he's up on the ropes, watch him, he's covered up. He knows he can't just lean back and go like this and stuff, right? Because those reflexes are gone. Right? Marco Huck, he still has reflexes. He's winning this fight. But his reflexes are dimming. And you'll notice he doesn't have survival skills. This is not the first fight in which he's fallen apart. I encourage people to revisit his loss to Steve Cunningham years ago. Right here, once Marco Huck hits the canvas, folks, stick a fork in him. And my point to you is, young Marco Huck, younger Marco Huck, could fight guys. He's even fighting Povetkin, and you know the rest. Povetkin throws punches, he just leans. Right? He just leans. I'm just telling you, that leaning strategy doesn't work as you get in your 30s. Right? Guys relying on reflexes, they're relying on a style with an expiration date. Didn't you notice Mike Tyson's deficiencies as he got older? Well before the Kevin Howard fight, didn't you notice Mike getting hit with punches? I'm just telling you, old guys need to figure out how to cover up. Right? It did work for Vitaly Klitschko. I'll agree with that. But Klitschko had such a big punch that an opponent really was risking it, stepping in the pocket with Klitschko. And let me make a point here. I want you to revisit Klitschko against Derek Chisora. Right? Chisora lands his share of blows in that match. Right? Reflexes are great. I'm not saying avoid reflexes. Right? If you have great reflexes, great. Have a part of your game that relies on reflexes. But, right, also develop the part of your game where you're defensive. You can actually put hands up. Right? You know to roll away from punches and to have a defensive guard. It could be your hands, it could be your body. Right? Marco Huck is still relying on the kind of reflexes that young Ali relied on. Let me tell you, I want you to revisit Ali Frazier 1. Right? Joe Frazier loads up on a left hook that knocks Ali down in that fight. I want you to look at where Ali's hands are when he gets knocked down. Right? Once your judgment of distance starts to go, once your reflexes aren't the same, right? Understand an opponent who, when you were younger and fresher, with better reflexes, would have missed you. No doubt when Ali's younger, he probably leans back and Joe's left hook just swings by him. When he's older, you know the rest. He recognizes the left hook late. And as he's leaning back, I'm telling you, an older fighter, not the Ali in his 20s, but an older fighter would have a hand up, have something to bounce that left hook off of. Ali has his hands down. The left hook slides in over his hands. Marco Huck, it's interesting here. When he gets knocked down, it's not the first punch that knocks him down. The first punch dazes him. He gets hit with a left hand from a southpaw. But understand, even after getting hit with the left hand, Marco Huck doesn't have a hand up. He's relying on his waist for defense. He's relying on his reflexes for defense, his legs for defense. He's accustomed to just stepping back, leaning, and backing up. That doesn't work here, right? He's an older man now. He gets hit flush with a right hand, the offhand from Glowacki. Think about it. And that's what drops him. Right? Marco Huck has a lot of work to do. I got to be blunt here. Even though he had a lot of successful defenses, I think he's going to have a real hard time developing an old man's game. He has the young man's game. Right? He has hand speed. He throws, combinations, right? His style is to lean back when you throw, then to come back with some two-handed attack up top. I'm just telling you, that's a young man's game. Right? He's going to have to go back to basics now to deal with his own dimming reflexes. Right? Think about the guys who are successful in their 30s. I'm just telling you, they all have some kind of defensive construct. Right? Young Floyd Mayweather in his 20s relied a lot more on reflexes than older Floyd Mayweather. Right? You see guys like Manny Pacquiao now in his 30s losing every now and then. Forget the last Mayweather fight. Think about the Marquez fight. Think about the Timothy Bradley fight, right? Because going like this and then coming in with straight left hands, when the other guy starts firing bullets back, you better have a hand up. You better have your head hidden. You better have something going on, right? Marco Huck right now doesn't. He's vulnerable. Let me also back up and let me just offer some responses on a big fight that's taking place. Cotto Canelo, to the statements of Golovkin's trainer, Abel Sanchez. Let me give a plug to an excellent service here online, right? Excellent YouTube poster, The Boxing Voice. They have a great interview with Abel Sanchez, right, on a host of issues. What really intrigued me was his view on Cotto Canelo. Now keep in mind, it's an open secret here that Canelo went to Big Bear. Actually hopped in the ring against Golovkin. If you Google it, you'll see stories about that infamous sparring session. Right? Abel Sanchez isn't speculating about Canelo. He's seen Canelo up close. He believes Canelo is the bigger man than Cotto. He believes Canelo is really the more natural middleweight than Cotto. Right? Abel Sanchez is picking Canelo against Cotto. Now, I disagree strongly. Right? Let me say this. Understand, Canelo's size, in my opinion, is actually going to be a handicap to him. Right? Because Cotto has a superior movement. He has a superior foot speed. Right? So I believe Canelo is going to look like his legs are in cement, like he's in sand, as he tries to move around the ring to catch up with Cotto. Let me say this too. You heard me talk about Joe Frazier earlier in this video. Right? Sometimes, to me, a guy who's shorter or who's able to fight low, by the way, that's a skill set now former cruiserweight champion Marco Huck doesn't have. Right? Cotto has it. Cotto can fight low. I actually believe sometimes the shorter man, you heard me mention Mike Tyson earlier in this video, right? The shorter man sometimes has a decided advantage, right? Edwin Valero, a few years ago. Sometimes the shorter man, especially when he's a power puncher, has the advantage because he's harder to find, right? You're fighting a guy and, you have to look down. You have to try to, hook up with him. And, of course, the guy is landing big shots, right? I would argue Mike Tyson was at his most successful against taller, bigger opponents, right? Trevor Burbank, who he was able to chop down, right? I think Cotto here, even though he might be smaller than Canelo, is going to find that he's in against a slower opponent. And by the way, Abel Sanchez takes exception with that. In the Boxing Voice video, he believes that Canelo is quicker than Cotto. Right? Just understand there were a lot of views on Canelo versus Cotto. I encourage you to take a look at the Boxing Voices video. It's their interview of Abel Sanchez. It's a good one. It's an eye-opener. Anyway, that's how I see it. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. If you have views on Marco Huck, if you have views on his conqueror, the new cruiserweight champion, Glowacki, if you have views on Canelo Cotto, my earlier Canelo Cotto video, my conviction that Cotto wins the fight, or Abel Sanchez's belief that Canelo wins the fight, I hope you leave your reasons why and your comments here in the comment section to this video. Thanks for stopping by.